Thank you so much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I have a very eclectic panel. And you know, the video, Jatin, was very, very powerful. Normally, we get to see very fancy buildings coming up in a very fancy location, which has got completely well manicured lawns. And you're building a retail mall in probably the heart of Delhi, what we call the right heart of Delhi, which used to be right from the British time and the old Delhi, where everybody thinks of great food and everybody has reminiscences of shopping there for their marriages. So, you know, I think what we're trying to build today is a panel discussion is of how the fusion of culture, art, and location, which is very been traditionally always have a mindset of traditional location and marrying it with the Indian traditional retailers. And when I talk about Indian retailers, we have a panel of retailers who've got more than 51 years of store experience running in India. And we have a youngest one, which is 6 months old. So, you know, we've got a very diverse retail panel as well from there on that. So let me start with you, let me start with you, Jatin. And Jatin, you're building a retail mall in, or I would say a shopping center, in traditionally in a very well located, well known as a typical high street where people are used to the congestion, love the fact that it's unformatted. And you're trying to build a very high quality retail for creating spaces for retailers, particularly who are on this panel as well. So what was the thought process of building something like this in a place like Chandni Chowk and not investing in typically a glitzy mall outside or somewhere in a neighborhood in other parts of Delhi? Why Chandni Chowk? What is the reason what you saw in Chandni Chowk to build a high quality retail that made you invest in that market?
Surely, thanks for the question, Pankaj. Yeah, I'm Jatin Goel. I'm second generation entrepreneur into real estate. My father started our group 34 years back. So we've been into real estate since a long time. And my father has this habit of sort of changing the way how the industry moves forward. And I believe that it was his vision that we started this project, and I'm just reciprocating the same over here, that we have taken the next step into how retail development should happen in our country. I think COVID has taught us that technology will take over, convenience will take over, customer satisfaction is the key. Similarly, all these old high street markets, be it in Delhi, be it in Lucknow, be it in Hyderabad, all these places, they are bound to move forward towards more organized retail from unorganized retail. The same way what infrastructure does to an economy when you develop roads, when you develop transport, it develops the economy to another level. It grows it further. Similarly, when you take a place like Chandni Chowk and provide it with the right set of infrastructure, you give it the right hygiene, you give it the right air conditioning, you give it the right toilets, you give it the right promotion for people to come, feel safe, and shop as well. Not letting go the price point at which they were buying earlier, magic can happen. So with that, we're taking this forward, this project forward. And I would like to suggest one thing, because I mentioned Galib in the video. I'm not sure if anybody noticed over there. There's a small thing that he has said about Chandni Chowk. गर दिल्ली अपनी मोहब्बत बयां कर पाती तो हर पन्ने पे नाम चांदनी चौक होता. So I think it's not just like a commercial development we're doing. I feel that it's a big nation building activity, and I feel that it's a big responsibility towards conserving the heritage and culture of our country through this project. And I wish to do right by it.
So Jatin, typically, when we associate a high street, traditional high street, we are used to the unstructured environment, and people probably love the unstructured environment. They love the street food, which is there. So how are you marrying with retail? And in Indian culture, particularly when we talk about culture, food is a very, very important component, right? So how are you marrying the food component in this development?
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing.
I mean, people don't expect to go to a McDonald's or a big KFC when they go to Chandni Chowk, right?
I think there'll be a fusion of both over there. And I believe last 5 years, the component of F&B within a retail development has been moving upwards. as compared to the retail part. There's a reason because people really want to go out and have an experience, not just shop. And food provides the most important and easy experience, so to say. If you have to make a plan with a friend, you go out, like, acha, kya karna hai? Chalo dinner ke liye chalte hain. Not like, acha, chalo shopping ke liye chalte hain. So that's the conversation. And I'm not sure if you've seen a lot of developments in Southeast Asia and Bangkok and in Singapore. They have beautifully combined the concept of modern retail and street food. With the walk stations, with a lot of those innovations coming in, how the food is also prepared live, which can be served in a hygienic manner. We're building close to about 80,000 square feet of food area. And food remains our priority. We don't want that nostalgia to go away, just people having McDonald's and Burger King. They would definitely be having a lot of Chandni Chowk sweets as well. Parante Wali Gali will open into an environment where people would be like, they can easily sit down and have that fun. Nataraj will be opening over there.
Okay, great. So coming to you, Uddhav, one is developments like Jatin have building in well-established markets like Delhi, where it's accepted to that retail, modern retail is there. It's well accepted. There's enough modern retail for customer experience. You are building a very large size mall in a very traditional city, which is very well known for its culture, like Udaipur. What did you see as an appetite for retail in that market overall? And particularly, a couple of years back, it was always said that the typical Indian wear, which is Indian ethnic wear or anything which is more Indian wear, malls are meant for international fashion or even Indian brands, but more oriented towards Western fashion. But since we have a large electric panel of retailers who are typically masters in this trade of Indian ethnic wear, particularly, what is the opportunity for marrying Indian ethnic wear in developments like yours, or like when you're leasing it out or you're building strategy? Is it all about the international wear, or there is a lot more component? There's a demand for Indian wear retailers, jewelers, fashion, and food in traditional markets like Udaipur as well?
So I'll take the first question. We're not building a simple mall. It's a mixed-use development which is catering not just to Udaipur city. Udaipur is 400 kilometers from Jaipur, and all the surrounding districts feed off Udaipur. So this center is going to cater to the entire south of Rajasthan. So all the close-by districts of Udaipur, plus Udaipur is a large tourist destination. So you have a lot of tourists coming in over the weekends. Plus Gujarat is on the border of Udaipur, and you get a lot of weekend traffic coming in from Gujarat because of two reasons. One, of course, Gujarat is dry, and there's a large temple called Nathdwara Temple, which is very close to Udaipur, which gets a crore pilgrims every year. The only way to go to Nathdwara Temple is by crossing our project and going. So we're building a center which is going to cater to the Udaipur city, as well as the surrounding districts and this moving traffic. So we've centered the mix around what these people require. We've, of course, got all international retail. We've got 7, 8 anchors, first shopper stop in the city, first lifestyle, first Marks and Spencer, all of those. We've also got a lot of F&B, surprisingly similar amount like Jatin has, exactly 80,000 square feet of F&B in our center as well. A full floor plate is dedicated to them. In the F&B, we've got 2 zones. We've got one space, 3 zones actually. One is the food court, which has all the QSRs. We have fine dining. We have a microbrewery opening, first one in Udaipur again. Plus, we've created a Chowpatty Bazaar. We've called it Chowpatty, which is going to get all the local Udaipur food into that area. Even in the retail, we've created a separate block of about 30,000 square feet, which is catering to the Udaipur retail, the local retail of Udaipur, apart from all the large anchors and all the vanilla brands that we are getting. So that's the mix. Apart from the retail, we have a go-karting space. We've created the large go-karting space. We're doing a trampoline park. We're doing a roller coaster inside the entertainment zone. So we're doing a lot of first-time things in Udaipur, which will make it like not just a mall, but a place people want to come to. Even as a tourist, if you come to Udaipur, you generally do the touristy things, and in the evenings, there's nothing to do. You generally just stay in your hotel. We want to make this center a place where everybody wants to go to in the evenings with their families. So whether it's entertainment, it's food, shopping, everything. We have a 68-room service apartment, which is opening with the mall, plus another 200-room hotel, which is being built parallelly right now. So it's going to be a mix of hotel, office space, retail, everything. And this is phase 1. Phase 2 is being designed already, where we're building another 8 lakh square feet next to this. That's about the center. I think I partially answered your question about whether we're getting traditional retail in the center. Like, we have space dedicated for that. And but I must say that we have seen a lot of demand from the international and the fashion brands for Udaipur. Maybe because of the reason that you were saying that people are skeptical to come to a small town for fusion. But of late, I'm seeing a lot of demand. But the Western wear, there is a lot of demand.
But how do you incorporate the local culture apart from, like you said, some retailers will come in, but in terms of promotions and the others, so is it going to be very modern, or is it going to be a lot more local touch to the development?
So we're doing a mix of both. The building is a modern structure. Because Udaipur, most of the buildings, even the houses, have their traditional Rajasthani feel. So we wanted to do something different and not just a typical. Even the other mall there has a Rajasthani dome. So we wanted to do a modern building. But what we've done within the building is we've got large walls where we are painting Rajasthani art. So just to kind of marry both the cultures, modern with local.
And who do you expect your audience in the shopping center to be? It's the transit population who are visiting Udaipur and for the temple, or Udaipur, which is traditionally have been a very big city for epicenter for tourism, or is it it's purely lot more for the local people?
It's a mix of both. So it's local Udaipur city population plus the South Rajasthan entire like there are 3 districts which are like 35-40 minute driving distance. All these guys, so there's another mall in Udaipur called Celebration. We got the data, about 40% of their business is outside Udaipur city population. So we are definitely catering to that population, plus the moving traffic. Because of the hotel and F&B, we think we can get that business as well.
Great. So coming to you, Samir, probably from an ethnic wear player, longest serving retailer on the panel, you were telling me 51 years in the business. How's been the change in the journey in terms of customer expectations? Because traditionally, Indian ethnic wear players are always looked at to be in traditional high streets, like say like a Chandni Chowk or Old Bags, and in various high streets in the traditional respective high streets in Delhi, Bombay, or Bangalore, where they were. But we've seen a big change. Particularly, we've seen you going in, opening stores in big malls, coexisting with international fashion wear, usually on a different floor or many times on the same floor itself. So how's been the change per se, from a culture perspective of people accepting Indian wear also beyond a formal occasion? And how is the landscape for your expansion changing with that?
Phenomenal question, by the way. Thank you, Pankaj. I think we started, ironically, with Chandni Chowk, in 1970. And since then, be it malls has been our target audience. Everybody new that comes in wants to go to a mall. Mall culture, we were one of the first retailers in India to start with a store in a mall. We've grown because of that, but we are now coming back to our roots of stores like Karol Bagh. High street shopping is doing very well. We are there at Omaxe, Chandni Chowk as well. And I've seen the traditional buyers who are well rooted, be it with jewelry as well. They have go-to vendors, they have go-to, people for their own needs. I think they've all experimented with different brands, but they want to stick to the original. So, stick to their markets. And within markets, you have the traditional, stores which not all mall developers are very keen to have. So, like the Nataraj ke Dahi Bhalle, I'm really happy to hear that you have him at the food court. I don't think any other mall in India has that. So, people want that authentic, taste, be it with food, be it with clothes, and they are going back to the roots of traditional markets. That has been our journey also now. We are again focusing on high street. Personally, I am back at Karol Bagh. We are, my pet project is redevelopment of our flagship store in Karol Bagh and getting that up and running with today's standard. That is the scale with which we are back at high street.
So is the customer who's going to a Karol Bagh or a Chandni Chowk different from the customer who comes to you at Promenade?
Yes and no.
And is the collection gets different?
No, so collection-wise, there would be about 20% of it that would be different, but traditional, garments stay the same. Irrespective of the audience, that youngness has come in. be it with mothers wanting to flaunt the latest styles at their daughter's wedding, or son's wedding, even mother-in-laws, they all want something new. So that fusion of newness has come across all our stores. So our collection is new and fusion, but 20% of it is catered to that selected audience. In for example, in Punjab, you would have people who would prefer more of unstitched suits compared to ready to wear. They don't prefer sari. So that 20% changes from location. But overall, I've seen everybody wants that fusion, wants that newness, but they want to stick to the traditional touches.
And if I come specifically to the fact that Jatin is building organized retail in an unorganized retail setup, which is the traditional high street. When you come to, what would you expect from a development like that if you were to go and take space there? Would you want it to be unstructured, or do you want it to be like a structured proper mall, or there is any element which you think they should be adding differently from another mall, say from a promenade, when they build something in there, and even that's from Jatin's perspective and along with Uddhav as well. Do you expect the Udaipur Mall or a similar city like a Surat, Udaipur, Coimbatore, or a Lucknow Mall to be same as what you see in a big city? Or do you think that those malls need to have something different there because the local population demands something different?
So,
as a retailer,
I think as a retailer, the first basic expectation I have from any mall is the basic services for consumers. Neat, clean bathrooms. At the very least, in a place like Chandni Chowk, that's the most important. And those basic services remain standard all across. I'm really happy to hear with Uddhav's vision of Udaipur, the kind of facilities that he has, be it with go-karting, be it with, the different entertainment for kids. It is a phenomenal thing, and that is what, as a retail partner, we also look at. What is the USP of that particular mall? There has to be something. That is what drives people to a particular mall. Otherwise, in Delhi, you have so many malls. Why would somebody come to a specific promenade or Mall of India? They need that USP. The Mall of India has that phenomenal food court, phenomenal space. They have really, really, be it with Omaxe, Chandni Chowk as well, the kind of focus they have done on food and getting the right retailers on board. So every mall has to have that USP at the end of it.
Great. Coming to you, Avnish, I remember meeting you first time was in your store with your father. Very, very impressed with your father at that point of time. And he walked us around your flagship store in Hyderabad. Probably it's what, 20,000 square feet? Huge flagship store. We've seen Neerus from big flagship stores like those two in malls, stores of 800,000 square feet as well. What's the way forward for a brand like yours in traditional format retail, and particularly when we're talking about tier 2 cities as well as traditional high streets as well? Would you go and put large flagship stores, or would you do the traditional, typical modern malls, fashion stores in these locations? What's the strategy of Neerus today when it comes to modern retailing?
So, Pankaj, I think you visited one of our best stores. That was our flagship. But that's true that we do a lot of formats from 1,000 square feet to 30,000 square feet and split across quite a bit of pan-India presence. And when you're talking about malls, I'll address to that first. I remember in 2013s and 14s when we were trying to expand the brand, and we used to sit with mall developers. It was a very, you can say it was a very new topic for them, understanding ki ethnic wear retailer ko jagah dena hai ya nahi dena hai. That was a question at one point in time. So they realized that a brand like Neerus originated from Hyderabad and is a South Indian brand. So he's coming to a DLF Mall of India, or he's going to a Phoenix Pune, or he's going to a Inorbit Malad. So what is the kind of response you'll get? Does ethnic wear customers come to a mall and shop? So we've answered those questions in 2013, 14, 15, and probably which is why today, when the panel came up, I was glad that it's all about occasion wear, which has never happened as far as I know, the whole images team for the past 1 decade or more. So I think it's a good thing that you've called us all on board. And places like Bombay and Delhi, there are so many ways in which a high street works, which a mall has to implicate as well. When you're talking about a mall like Omaxe, and like how Samir rightly said, if I have a very high-end NRI clientele, she wants a good washroom in my store. She wants to have a Bisleri bottle of water to drink, not in a glass. And likewise, there are many more methods. Like I remember if I'm coming to Bombay, my driver would just say, कि सर ये दुकान में जाओ आप खाली वॉशरूम भी यूज़ करेंगे तो मेरे को 1000 रुपये मिलेंगे. So that's how footfall is driven in traditional high streets. So one has to think out of the box. So I did that for my driver in Bombay for 10 years, just so that he could get that $1,000. I've used the loo of very high-end stores in Bombay from Santa Cruz till Marine Lines. So that's how traditional retail market works. So how can you adapt from that is a big learning, because today, like how you're saying, in a place like Chandni Chowk, where we've been going and dealing with a lot of unorganized retailers and wholesalers, so we've climbed stairs which are 2 feet tall. Can I get the luxury in a Omaxe mall of just standing in a travelator and seeing at least 100 brands in a span of 20 minutes? So that is luxury. So how you pitch your mall in a place like that is a bigger deal, which I think Jatin and team has been doing it very widely. We've been noticing that for the past couple of months. But again, coming back to traditional and tier 2, tier 1, doing a big store, small store. So what happened I'll tell you about our journey as when we started expanding, and we thought we want to go across South India and do many more stores. So we remember with the team, we sat with a map of Indigo flights. And they had that little magazine, and we said, flight jaa jati hai, wahan pe to store kholna hi kholna hai. Chahe wo Raipur ho, Lucknow ho, Warangal ho, Khammam ho, jahan bhi ho. So we have to do, or Hubli ho, wherever it's possible, we should target that. And then because we have been in this field of ethnic wear for about 4 decades, so we recognize the streets well. So do I want to be on a commercial street in Bangalore, or do I want to be a Santa Cruz, Bombay? I want to do Karol Bagh, Delhi. I want to do a Hazratganj, Lucknow. So that is a given thing. There's no data needed for that. Everybody knows कि कहाँ वो शहर की ladies, aunties, बहनें जाती हैं अपनी wedding के लिए shopping करने. That's a set destination. Nobody can change that. You and I, even if I make a mall with a budget of 10,000 rupees square feet, even 1,000,000 square feet, I can't do that, because that's a set norm in India. Because when people come from a small city to a bigger city to shop, they don't come alone. They come with 7, 8 family members. And
And when they come with large family members, do they expect that in a traditional high street or even a location, say like a city like Udaipur, for example, or a tier 2 city, do they expect they to be treated with a large big store, or they are okay with a smaller format store in a shopping center? Do they want a large big store because they're used to the fact कि बड़ा store होगा, हम बड़े store में जाएंगे?
So that is an apprehension. So that I can compare that with North India and South India. So when you come to South India, the people's apprehension is bigger the store, bigger the variety. But probably in North, that's not the culture. The mom and pop stores still end up doing MBO format. You won't see an ethnic wear retailer with huge stores in North, well compared to South. So in South, you have a 50, 60,000 square feet only selling occasion wear. So that is one cultural difference I can say between North and South. But what happens is people have that apprehension, because in ethnic, people want to see variety. Women, I can't change their mentality. They want to go to 6 stores and buy from one. They want to see 50 wedding lehengas and buy one wedding lehenga for her wedding. So it's not a go shop and come home. It's a whole experience of shopping your ethnic wear. So that is why you come to stores like us, you see the kind of interiors we do. I remember many of the international brands come and say, why have you spent so much on a store like this? So I said, in your store, a median time for a lady, she spends maybe is about 15 minutes. With us, she spends from morning to evening.
And to buy one lehenga?
To buy one lehenga. So my ticket value may be a lakh rupee lehenga, but she's still spending 8 hours in my store. She wants a good meal, she wants good tea, she wants biscuitery, she wants a good washroom, she wants a good staff to sell. Maybe you and I are graduate, maybe you're a PhD, Pankaj, as we know you. So maybe you're a PhD,
I
but
think the entry barrier to real estate is no education.
No, the reason the reason is being
The lesser the
that,
better, because then you think too much.
no, being that because in spite of holding a degree, I cannot fold a sari. So I don't have that knack of folding a sari. So there is a separate league of staff you need who've come with for an experience at your store. So the customer understands that. Today's customer is a very knowledgeable customer. They are coming from influencing. She saw a movie on Friday with Alia Bhatt. She wants it tomorrow in her wardrobe. She saw something on Instagram today from an influencer. Tomorrow she wants it in the wardrobe. So do you have, as a brand, the infrastructure, first, to give that product? Second, is your brand available near around? So the reason to go to Tier 2 cities is, earlier there used to be a time when fashion came in Bombay, Delhi, Hyderabad. Today, in maybe Vijayawada or in Raipur, it used to come 6 months later. That was the track we saw as a brand. But today, it comes together. So the millennial today is sitting in a Tier 2, Tier 3 versus a millennial in metro. They are seeing the same visuals and they want it tomorrow.
Great. You know, and I want to pick up from that and come to you, Suvankar. You know, you represent an iconic brand from the East who's been there for how many years now? Senco?
Almost 70 years of that.
70 years, 150 stores plus, and a lot more in the East and some in the North. And a very traditional category of jewelry, right? Typically, when somebody goes buy jewelry in India, it's always been the fact that you have your decided jeweler. It's not window shopping you typically end up doing in a jewelry format. It was always, I remember the initial years, and I'm sure Uddhav and Jatin will particularly relate to it, is when we try to convince jeweler to come inside an organized retail space, and I'm not saying necessarily mall, any kind of organized retail space, they said it doesn't work for us because our customer is pre-decided. He wants to park his car because it's high value purchase. And you know, India has always had that issue earlier, which was before digital currency came in, that you know, there was no, you know, currency was typically in hand to go buy high value products, which is now obviously changed over the years. But the mindset was to go and put up a store in a high street, in a secured location where the customer feels comfortable. You need a safe and a convenient environment and a visible environment. You didn't need organized retail spaces to come to. But over the years, we've seen that change, right? That jewelers have started coming into organized retail spaces like malls and the others. So how are you seeing the change in your customer understanding? Is preferences to go into organized retail spaces because culturally they are changing? Or is it, there is two sets of customers. One is the traditional old customer who will want to come to your flagship stores, and there is a new age customer which wants to come to a shopping center, which also has elements of tradition connected to it. So there is traditional retail, Indian wear, which is there, and alongside there is jewelry. So there's a full shopping wardrobe available. So how are you seeing the change? Are you seeing the world move towards one-sided, or is it both are split?
So basically, there are 3-4 factors that is determining the behavior of the customer. One of them is the occasions that they would want to buy their jewelry for, or even that same thing what applies to jewelry is applying to clothes and fashion as well. Now, in the minds of the consumer, they know that if I have to buy jewelry or clothes for wedding, I would like to go to a particular location, and that has been ingrained in them over so many, say, generations. So they would want to go to a high street store because it's for their wedding purpose. But today, when we look at the consumer's time, and it has become a constraint. So when over the weekend, if they have to go for an experience which need not be related to jewelry only, so then as an Indian product of clothes, of fashion, of lifestyle, of jewelry, how do you make yourself available and be there in front of the customer? So while we have a technology which is enabling us, be it in the bigger cities or in the smaller tier 2, 3, 4 cities, to reach out to the customers, mobile phone, and be available with our campaigns, with our marketing, with our advertisement. But then physically, what we have seen over the past 2-3 years, especially post-pandemic, is the store's importance will increase only with the experience that we would try to give. So today we have been very happy to be part of Omaxe. Why? Because we realize that in our industry itself, there is a shift happening, which is a shift from the unorganized to organized. The consumer today, let us all agree that we are aiming to cater to the young generation. That is the future. That will take us to the next 10, 15 years of growth. So what is their behavior? And we are seeing that there is a kind of a need of them to be rooted to their culture. They want to do it. But at the same time, they want to take it at a different experience. And especially with the foreign brands that are coming into our country, obviously, in our minds, we might think that, oh, foreign brands are better than us. But as Indian brands, with our Indian culture, with what we have been providing to them, how do we make it more glamorized and put it across to the consumer of today that we are, as aspirational as the foreign brands? And maybe at times, it is not only the Indian market that we have to look for, but we have to go beyond the Indian market to make sure that we can create the same kind of aspiration. And like he said, that there are NRIs that are coming from abroad to India to buy. They are not fascinated by, they know that when I have to buy this, this is the best that I'm getting it. So from our perspective, be it, being in Chandni Chowk, that is where we are seeing that the shift from unorganized to organized, even at the B2B level, B2C level, the new generations coming in, they want to experience everything because by the grace of God, everyone's lifestyle has increased over the last 10, 15 years. So now they want that, okay, let me pay for not the product only, but for the experience. And we are seeing we've got almost 40 to 50% of our stores in the tier 2, 3, 4 cities. And what we see that the young generation of theirs, they are educating themselves in the bigger cities. If they have a business, they are going back to their hometown. If not, they want to stay in the bigger cities. Now the parents of the young generation, they are following the young people more rather than the young people listening to their parents. So as a brand, what do? We have to cater to the need of the young generation more. And that is where we are talking here that yes, design, art, culture, how can we forget that? That is what we have all grown up with. So how do we make it, the whole intention of today's this platform should be to take it to a level that the young people should aspire for, be it through modern retail, be it through our products, be it through our designing. Yes, there are occasions, we have the Valentine's Day, we have the Women's Day, Father's Day, Mother's Day. These were not a part of Indian culture before. But at the same time, we have our weddings and anniversaries, we have our Dhanteras, Diwalis, Durga Pujas, Tej, Karwa Chauth, all of that. So we cannot let the consumer say that, oh, we are not a part of it. If you look at Amazon, you have dhoops that are being modernized, packaged in a modern manner and being presented. And we as consumers will pay a little premium, but in our minds, we are kind of saying that, okay, this is something good, a great product. So it's more to cater to the changing needs of the young generation, and we as brands have to do it. And we are saying it's not just restricted to the cities anymore. Growth is more in the smaller towns. And the aspiration is there, the money is there. It is up to us to give them that experience.
And since you said that there is more aspiration and there's more growth and, and the confidence with developers like Uddhav who go and invest such large capital in building such large real estate developments anchored by a shopping center in a tier 2, tier 3 town. How is the journey of a customer there? Is the customer, because Avnish said, the Instagram or the influencer or a celebrity which a customer is so in a tier 2, 3 is also following, and he wants that product instantly as well. He's not willing to wait and saying, I want to be secondary to my cousin who lives in a big city. Today he wants the same customer experience and the thing. But in your own store, in terms of particularly when it's a very high value buy in terms of jewelry, do you think the customer mindset has changed? Because in a fashion, the spend is not so high in terms of ticket size. But in jewelry, are they still guided because they are typically controlled? I would say the finance of the family wealth is controlled by the elder generation. Is that changing, that they're willing to come and spend and saying, no, we will go to the mall, say Uddhav's mall in Udaipur and buy jewelry from that store in the mall? Or they will say, no, the father or the grandfather have been going to a jeweler in the high street. They would want the child to also go there. Is the influence changing now in a tier 2 and tier 3?
It is.
Because in a tier 1, a lot of the wealth now is with the younger generation because they're working and they're controlling their own finance.
Yes.
But in tier 2, because it's typically businesses run, right? I mean, the wealth which is there is, or the spending wealth is with the people who are traditionally employed and they are in family businesses. A lot of them. I'm not saying it's changing, but it's saying, I would still say, take that liberty to say that a lot of wealth is controlled by a family patriarch or the father or the grandfather. The other. So is the influence there different?
So the ticket size is very critical here. So when it comes to a wedding, then it's a family taking a decision. And then the ticket sizes go up to 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs, 15 lakhs, 20 lakhs and above. But today what we are seeing is that, jewelry at the end of the day is called Sridhan. So the money that the women of the family are saving, 50,000 rupees of jewelry, because the occasions have gone up. And like much in clothes, people don't want to repeat their jewelry. If it's already up there on Facebook or Instagram, they would want that, people around my friend circle should not see me wearing the similar kind of products again. So the smaller ticket sizes of below 1 lakh is what a woman can go, be it using the credit card or whatever money she has saved in the family. So these empowering situations for the women and the young couples are happening. And the influence of the man of the house or whatever is reducing over a period of time. And that is where we are seeing, be it tier 2 or be it tier 1, there is this change and the impulsive purchase part of it, right? So when you are buying a high value product, obviously it's a decision making. When you are in a low ticket size, you've already decided, you've seen the design on the social media, you go there and you ask for it and you go for it. That's the way you have to divide the two purchasing situation.
Coming to you, Dhruv, the latest brand on the market in this fashion wear in the Indian segment, 6 months, coming from a large group like Aditya Birla. I don't know what Samir and Avnish, they see in your businesses that all the big corporate houses are entering the Indian fashion wear. The Aditya Birla, the Reliances. Either you guys are making a lot of money, we just show that these guys are making a lot of money. We also need to come in there. But I'm just but I mean, what suddenly happened that traditionally the large corporate retailers who are always there in the more westernized form of retail have now suddenly started investing. You've seen a lot of acquisitions happen by your group and similar groups of Indian designers. There has been a lot of tie-ups and joint ventures happening. There is a lot of new brands like Tasva is launched as a separate label. So what's prompting that suddenly this jump into Indian ethnic wear? Is the market size exploding, or is it that there is too much unorganized thing and retail was always, any industry in India was there is a big opportunity to convert unorganized to organized, and that's where the market size also grows. So what are you guys seeing that suddenly there is a big opportunity, and what's the format of Tasva and what kind of customer you're aiming at?
Thank you for having us. So Tasva means the best version of me, and we are the latest kid on the block. Effectively, our first store started in December. And I'll try to address your question by talking more about consumer behavior change. So we all remember in the last 10, 20 years, global brands were coming in. We were always looking forward to buy those brands. They were more aspirational. We were always outward looking. I mean, I remember as a young kid, we would always brag about wearing these kind of brands. We would not be very confident of our own occasions, our own language. But in the last 10, 20 years, especially after COVID, we see a huge consumer shift. Consumer has become more inward looking. We are embracing our own occasions more. We are more confident of who we are, not only as Indians, but even somebody mentioned about NRIs. So we see a huge shift of consumers, more inward looking than outward looking. That's the first point where we see a huge opportunity. Obviously, there are brands like who are people already on the stage. Also, there are monopoly brands in this space who are doing exceedingly well, and there is a huge opportunity for growth. And especially if I talk about post-COVID, I mean, we are all celebrating our occasions far better than we were doing much before. And the consumer has changed in the sense that the consumer goes more for experiential retail. They go for more large format stores. They are far well researched when they are entering your store. They probably will be more researched than your salesman who will be selling there because they do that kind of research before coming. The involvement is very, very high. From a fashion retailer, average time spent in the store would be 10 minutes to something like our brands, almost an hour or even more at times. Somebody mentioned almost 8 hours. So we see that consumer behavior shifting a lot. And we see a huge, huge opportunity there. And it's not just Aditya Birla Group, even other brands are moving into this space. And the opportunities are immense. I mean, we're already at 13 stores, and hopefully by end of next year, you'll see far more presence. We're already at 6 cities. We'll probably be at another 25 cities. So that's the kind of potential we see both offline and online with this space.
And but in terms of the customer acceptance, because is there a change and shift in because the young customer is more comfortable when it comes from a big corporate house? That's the reason also, or is it because you are able to do a better standardization that you're able to compete? Will you be able to compete better with the traditional retailer who's been in this market like Sameer, 50 years, knows the customer back of their hand, knows exactly what sells in each market, has segmented the market extremely well? Is it just because the new age customer wants standard format, standard sizes, knows the brand, and that's why there is a big need for Indian retailers to come in the organized space, large corporate offices coming on the organized space as well?
So there is a space for everyone in the market. I mean, if I talk about people who have been in the industry for so long, they are far closer to the consumer compared to any international brand. And I think for Indian brands, for large-scale brands, we obviously get the benefit of scale. We are doing our own designing, our own production, our own supply chain. We intend to be far closer to the consumer than any other international brand coming into this space. And I think we can only aspire to be as big or as profitable as people here on this panel. So in terms of, and it all depends ultimately on what kind of experience you're able to provide on the floor. Product can only differentiate you to a level. And I think what we are trying to do is sell a story. I'll give an example of another sector. Royal Enfield, it used to always sell bikes. You see any bike manufacturer, they would talk about the price, the features. But Royal Enfield tells a story, a lifestyle. We are talking about being an aspirational brand. A Tarun Tahiliani collection starts at 1,20,000, 1,40,000. But with Tasva, you can easily get something as low as 1,600 rupees for a kurta.
And when you look at your own stores, would these be part of typical modern malls, or would they be part of traditional high streets, or they would be part of the cusp, which is traditional high streets having organized retail space?
So it has to be a mix of all. So we will go, very candidly put, we'll go where the money is, right? Simply put. So you will obviously grade the cities where the business is coming from. Let's say they will be the top 3 cities of Mumbai, Bangalore, and Delhi, and then there will be the next 6 cities, Hyderabad, Chennai, etc. So it is irrespective of whether it's a high street or a mall. Obviously, with established malls, you have to wait for the churn to happen. But with high streets, you can take much faster bets. You can look at much larger stores across different floors. So it has to be a mix of both. We're obviously expanding far more in high street right now because of the churn in the malls. We are waiting for the right locations. But I would imagine it has to be where the money is, simply put.
Great. Thank you so much. Just a quick, I think what we've got a great discussion on this one in saying from a developer standpoint, when you're building an organized retail space in a traditional high street, there is a huge amount of demand as well, because players like Senco, Avnish, and Sameer and Tasva would want to come and take spaces there. And particularly when you enter into tier 2 cities, you have to marry both the modern age Western retail with traditional retail, and also incorporate the culture, which I can get from you, Uddhav, is that incorporate the local culture, but so have the traditional format of food, but also have the go-karting to please them as a customer as well. So I think that's the new flavor, is that it's kind of a mixed culture which is emerging, but there is a space for everyone to grow and the others, as long as you're able to imbibe the local culture and tradition and not try and change it and influence it. You preserve that, but get the modern age touch to it with backing with technology, and retailers like Sameer, who've been doing this business for 51 years with 150 stores like yourself at Senco and the others. So they're all willing to be part of that journey, as long as Jatin and Uddhav are able to preserve that journey alongside and marry the two cultures. So it's the Instagram culture with the tradition of 50 years, 70 years getting married together. Since we're at the end of the fag end session, we're happy to take 1 or 2 questions if there is anyone from the audience wants to ask. Great. So thank you so much. I don't think we have any questions. Thank you so much for the panelists, and thank you much for the audience, please.